All right. So this one will be 10 minutes because everyone's very tired and I'm under strict instructions to keep it to 10 minutes.
Thank you.
My meditation tonight was on what do we think about God's grace? And I've got some examples that I was reading through recently. So I'll go through those from the scripture.
那今天晚上呢，我们沉思的主题呢，是我们如何看待神的恩典。那我有准备呢几个呢圣经当中的例子来跟大家分享。
So what do we think about grace? Every day we make decisions, all kind of decisions. Some of them are really easy. What are we going to eat? What are we going to wear? What are we going to do with our time? Some of the decisions are not easy. Some of these touch our fears. They push us out of our comfort zones and they challenge us to understand what we believe to be right and fair. Fair is the key there. Sometimes God asks us to do things that feel really hard. Sometimes they feel too hard. Sometimes they don't make sense to us. Sometimes we believe we have a very good reason to avoid what God's told us or what God's instructing us. But this is the moments where faith becomes real, because faith isn't just about believing in God, it's about trusting Him enough to obey.
那我们如何看待神的恩典呢？事实上，在我们每天的生活当中呢，我们一直都在做决定。有一些决定呢是比较简单的，例如要吃什么、要穿什么、要去哪里、要怎么安排我们的时间。可是有一些决定呢却不那么容易，他们有时候会触动我们的恐惧，逼迫我们把我们推出舒适圈，挑战我们认为是对的和公平的事情。尤其呢，我们对于公不公平呢这一种感觉呢，我们的要求呢是比较严格的。那有时候呢，我们会发现神要求我们去做一些我们觉得太困难的事，一些看来不合理的事，甚至有一些我们会觉得有正当的理由可以去回避。神告诉我们要去做，可是我们却觉得我们可以找到正当的理由去回避。可是呢，就是在这一些让我们觉得很为难的时刻，信心呢才变得真实。因为我们知道，所谓的信心呢，不只是相信有神，而是我们要足够信靠他，愿意顺服他。
So the first one I want to talk about, we all know him very well, the prophet Jonah. So Jonah wasn't a weak man, he was a prophet. Everybody in Israel actually remembered him. They knew who he was. He was a good news prophet for the nation of Israel. He was very well respected, close to God. He'd given his life to serving his people. Then God told him to go to Nineveh. And Jonah was shocked because Nineveh was the capital of Assyria. Jonah was a prophet. He'd listened to the other prophets and he knew exactly what Assyria was going to do to his own people. They were cruel. They were a violent enemy of Israel. Jonah knew what they had already done, and he knew they were going to destroy his nation one day. He couldn't understand how God could show them mercy. And he said that in his book. He says, I knew you were going to be merciful. He was angry with God. So Jonah ran away. It wasn't because he was lazy, but because he was hurt, because of his pride for his nation, God's people. He believed that God's love was being given to the wrong people. He wanted justice, not forgiveness. But even though he ran away, God didn't punish Jonah. He followed him there with love. God showed Jonah that his grace isn't limited by nationality, by race, by past mistakes. God's love always reaches further than our hate.
我第一个呢，想要举的例子呢是约拿。相信我们每一个人呢，都对约拿这个人呢非常的熟悉。他不是一个软弱的人，他是在以色列当中呢被广为人知的一个先知。他是非常受人尊敬、亲近神的人。他也为了自己的以色列的人民呢，奉献了全部的生命。 所以呢，当神呢呼召他前去尼尼微的时候呢，约拿感到非常的震惊，因为他知道亚述尼尼微的首都是一个怎么样的城市，这是一个怎么样的国家。亚述呢是一个残忍、充满强暴的，一直以来都是以色列最大的敌国。约拿很清楚知道这个敌人呢，他们做过了什么，也知道他们有一天呢会毁灭他们的国家。所以对于约拿而言，他根本无法理解神怎么可以怜悯呢这样子的国家。约拿在自己所写的约拿书当中就这样子对神很愤怒的说过，我就知道你会怜悯他们。所以呢，面对神的呼召，约拿选择了逃跑，不是因为他是一个懒惰的人，而是因为他太过伤心了。一直以来呢，都是非常爱着自己的以色列子民的，所以他认为呢，神这一次呢，把他的爱给错了人。他想要的呢，是公义得以伸张，而不是看到神呢去宽恕以色列的敌人。可是面对约拿的逃跑，神呢不但没有惩罚他，反而呢是怀着爱一路跟着他，引导他。所以神呢向约拿显明了他的恩典不会去受到国籍、种族或这个人过去所犯的错误而有限制。神的爱呢，总是比我们的仇恨更加来的深远。
So Jonah felt like he had a valid reason for avoiding this. He didn't want God's love to be wasted. So another one we can look at who was put in a similar position in the New Testament now was somebody else that we know very well from Damascus, Ananias. So Ananias was a faithful believer living in Damascus. He followed God quietly, lived with integrity. And one day God told him to go to Saul of Tarsus because he's praying. Ananias couldn't believe it. Everybody in Damascus, all the Christians knew that this guy was on his way to kill them. This was the same Saul that had arrested Christians, broke into their homes, brought fear to the ecclesia. If Jonah's resistance had come from a national pain and a national pride, Ananias' fear came from personal risk. Saul had come to kill him and his friends. So Ananias had every reason to say no. But he didn't stop at fear. He spoke honestly to God, and then he obeyed. He walked to the house. He put his hands on this person who was there to harm him, and he said, "Brother Saul." And with those two words, Ananias became part of God's plan to change history. Because this man who had caused so much fear was now the apostle that was sent to us, to the nations, to the Gentiles.
所以我们知道，面对神的呼召呢，约拿选择了逃避，因为他认为呢，神是在浪费自己的爱。那接下来呢，我们将眼光呢转到新约，在新约当中呢，也有一个人，他的例子，他的经历呢，跟约拿是非常相似的。他是这个人呢，名叫亚拿尼亚，我们也很熟知这个人，他是住在大马士革的一个非常忠心的信徒。他是安静的跟随神、生活正直的人。可是有一天呢，神给了他一个非常惊人的命令。神告诉他说：“你去访问一个大树人，名叫扫罗，他正在祷告。”亚拿尼亚简直不敢相信，所有住在大马士革的信徒呢，大家都非常的清楚，这个人不就是前往大马士一路非常热心的前往大马士革，然后要把所有的信徒呢都逼迫，然后下到监里，甚至想要残害他们吗？这不就是那一个已经逮捕了非常多的信徒，闯进他们的家里，给教会带来恐惧的扫罗吗？如果约拿对于神命令的抗拒是来自国家的伤痛，还有身为以色列人的骄傲，那么亚拿尼亚的恐惧呢，则是来自于个人的人身安危。当他去找扫罗的时候，扫罗可能会杀害他和他的朋友，因此呢，他有很充分的理由去拒绝神的呼召。可是亚拿尼亚呢，他没有停留在恐惧当中，他坦诚的对神表达他的恐惧，然后选择了顺服。他就去到了扫罗的家里，把手按在那个曾经想要伤害他的人身上，然后说：“兄弟扫罗， 那正是这一句话，让亚拿尼亚成为神改变历史计划的一部分。那个曾经带来恐惧的人扫罗，成为把福音带给我们这些外邦人，带到万国的使徒。
So these two, Jonah and Ananias, faced difficult situations, but they both had to decide. Do they trust God even when it feels wrong and it feels unsafe? So we face moments like this. Maybe God's asking us to forgive somebody that hurt us, to reach out to someone we don't like, to serve in a place that feels uncomfortable. We always have fantastic reasons why we don't need to do this, or an excuse for us not doing this. We can explain it. I need more time. They're not going to change anyway. This doesn't seem very wise. But God sees through all of our excuses, and he sees what we fear. He sees the people that we avoid, and yet he still says, go. Because he's not asking us to fix the world. He's asking us to trust him with the next step. So faith isn't about big words or deep thoughts. Faith is found in small, hard steps of obedience. God's grace reaches the people we would never choose. And he is inviting us to be a part of that grace.
那我们是怎么样呢？约拿和亚拿尼亚都面临了在他们人生当中非常困难的情况，但是他们都必须做出决定，那就是当情况看起来不对劲或不安全的时候，我还愿意信靠神吗？那我们每一个人也都会经历类似的时刻，也许神正要求你去原谅一个伤害过你的人，去接触一个你不喜欢的人，让你在一个感到不舒服的地方服务。我们也常常会找理由推辞，我们可能会像这样子解释，我还需要一些时间。这些人怎么做，我们怎么做，这些人也不会改变。这样做好像不太明智吧？可是神看穿了我们的借口，他看见了我们在恐惧什么，也看见了我们回避的人，可是他仍然对我们说：“去吧。”因为神不是要我们去解决整个世界的问题，而是希望我们在踏出下一步的时候可以信靠他。因此，所谓的信心呢，不只是口头上的宣告，或者是呢非常深奥的思想。信心呢，是从一个一个小小的而困难的顺服行动当中体现出来的。神的恩典会临到我们从来不会选择的人，而神邀请我们成为他恩典的一部分。
So God's grace is not limited by our fears, our pain, or our prejudice. He doesn't need perfect people, he just needs willing ones. We don't need to know everything. We just need to say, yes, Lord, I'll go.
所以神的恩典不会被我们的恐惧、伤痛或偏见所限制。神不需要一个完全完美的人，他只需要一个愿意顺服他的人。我们其实不用什么都明白，我们只要说：“是的，主，我愿意去。”
So if God's grace is big enough for my enemies, my fears, my failures, am I willing to let it be big enough for me as well?
所以我们要问自己：如果神的恩典如此之大，大到足以包容我的敌人、恐惧还有失败，那么我是否愿意让这份伟大的恩典也将我自己包容在内呢？
Thanks,
谢谢各位。